crime scene was not properly secured by Travis County Police. 2 investigating officers were fatally wounded that day. This is the only known image of Thomas Hewitt, the man they call Leatherface.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another Kleptomaniac video. Now today we have an absolute beast of a figure for you. This is of course Leatherface from the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the film came out in 2003. Now this piece was created by the Mighty Ones Customs Figures. As always, I will leave a link below in the description, so if you haven't checked out his work already, please do so. Now I acquired this piece from Mr. Stiff Richards around April 2017, and so that would, my estimations, make the figure around 2.5 years old, depending on when he acquired it. Now this is the DX version of the piece. This comes with the main body of Leatherface himself, 3 different head sculpts, a sledgehammer, a bucket full of various types of bones which are all weathered and bloodied up in a beautiful way, and of course Leatherface's iconic chainsaw. Now this has a special detail which I will go into later on. Before we get started with the review, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as I'm trying to get to 100 subs so I can show off a very special piece which only a select few people have ever seen. The base of the figure is styled on wooden floorboards, which I would deem to be the hallway of the Hewitt's house in the remake. Now there's various different types of blood here. There's dried and quite obviously old blood, and there's clearly fresher, brighter, also has a slight gloss to the top of it, elements of blood as well. Also dirtied up, so overall the base looks extremely realistic. He's wearing what I would describe as a pair of clunky shoes slash boots which look extremely similar to the limited scenes that you can find of the boots in the film. Again, these have been weathered up nicely. There's blood splatters all over them. Quite obviously there's a good mixture of old blood. There's polish missing from around the sole area and all over the top. Overall, one's done a good job on these. Now as we continue moving up this piece, I'm going to try and show you as many different angles as possible to really try and demonstrate the level of detail and effort that One's Customs has gone into on Leatherface's outfit. When you compare the bottom of the apron, the way it frays, the way it's shredded, the way it's torn compared to the source material, it looks extremely accurate. And the thing I want to point out here is that normally I would class weathering as things like sweat, dirt, just general aging of a piece, but when you consider that Leatherface effectively, this is his butchering outfit, that would automatically include all these tears, these holes, and also blood. I mean, the fact is, this whole piece is covered in a mixture of very old blood and quite clearly fresh, drier blood, which does have that reddish, almost glistening tone to it. And the thing I'm trying to impress on you here is this outfit consists of many different layers, and it's not just the layers, there are different types of material that have gone into use here. The apron itself, it doesn't just consist of a thin piece of material at the front, it's backed by almost a sort of lighter shade of material, but that's still weathered as well. Every facet of this costume, in my opinion, has been weathered expertly, and the interesting thing is, when you compare to the source material in the film, I would say One's Customs has taken artistic license here. After all, the film version looked a little bit clean, but the fact is, this outfit he's worn has quite obviously been worn for many years, so it stands to reason it is going to be in horrific shape. For me, the changes and I would call my class upgrades One's Customs has made to this outfit is incredible. It's even small details, such as the leather gauntlets, the way they wrapped round his wrist area, the length they go up to, again the blood splattering, the way the apron ties around not just the waist but also the cross thread over the back. they all add up to the fact that this is 100% believable that he's worn this outfit for many years, that he is brutally murdering these people, and he's not concerned with the appearance of his clothing, which is a bit of a contrast in some ways to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as that version had the killing outfit but also the dinner suit, which, as I understood, he changed depending on his mood or the occasion. The set also comes with a metallic bucket, which obviously, as you can see on screen, is a storage bucket for the various body parts that are either going to go into waste or just thrown out. There's an arm, there's what looks to be a whole femur, there's even a thigh bone still attached to the pelvis. Overall, it's very gruesome and a fitting addition to this set. The weathering on the bucket is impressive as well. There's dents, it almost looks like it has been thrown about for many years. There's blood drips all down the side of it, almost elements of rust. He's done a really good job on this. Looking at the sledgehammer that comes with the piece that Leatherface quite brutally uses in the film, it's made from what I believe to be plastic throughout. It's been weathered well, there's blood smears and dried blood on the handle as well as on the actual head of the sledgehammer. Fortunately, when you look at the amount of care and attention that has gone into the outfit, I really wish this would have either been made from wood itself and have had a almost stone end to it, just to kind of really elevate it up to the same level as the rest of the piece. Now, fans of the original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre will of course immediately notice the difference between this mask and the original. Now, when I compare One's Customs version to the source material of the remake, though he's managed to capture an awful lot of the details, he's been able to highlight the dead or decaying skin around the mouth and eyes area, which is very evident in the film mask. The stitching is that darkened black colour as well, and it's also in the exact same places as the mask on the film. Again, as I always say, it's these kind of details which really showcase One's Customs as an artist here. The mouth, which you can clearly see is cut out from the skin that this mask was made from, is there, and the teeth are in a very similar fashion to how you see them in the film. I also really appreciate the level of effort that One has gone to in the hair. Now, it may look like a bit of a fluffy mess, but it is extremely stylable. It almost has this matted texture to it, which again is consistent with what it looked like in the film. He's also done a very good job on the actual paint and colouring of the mask. There are many different tones as usual for One's Customs head sculpt. There's almost dark and tan browns, but there's also kind of almost a light sort of skin tone texture when you go below the chin. As ever, the most important thing with characters wearing masks, that the eyes line up with the mask holes. You may just be able to capture the eyes here. It has of course included eyelashes, all these small details which do make a big overall difference to the piece. Overall, I think One has done a very good job on this head sculpt, especially when you compare it to the limited shots that are out there of the original source material. And I'd say he's also perhaps taken a little bit of artistic license with the blood splatter, but it's reasonable that he would have got blood on the mask when you're slicing someone up the middle with a chainsaw after all, right? Looking at the second head sculpt, you can see that the quality remains throughout. The details I mentioned previously, such as the dark and decaying areas around the mouth and the eye holes, as well as the stitching across the forehead, down the sides of the face, are all evident. Now, the mask is positioned slightly different because of course this is what I would class as a screaming or attack mode head. That would of course put the cheekbones in a slightly different position. If you look to the right of the mouth, you can almost see where the mask is stretching, or rather skin is stretching. I like the fact that on this head sculpt you can see the eyes a little better. They are blue/grey underneath, so those details are very much evident. There are some blood splatters, just like on the previous mask. They're a little bit more toned down in this version, and the hair has the exact same quality as the first head sculpt, so again it's extremely easy to style and move around as need be. Looking at the paint on this head sculpt, I'd say there are subtle differences to the first head sculpt, but nothing that would make me complain or feel that it wasn't really accurate to the source material. Now, an interesting little tidbit that some of you may or may not know is that in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, Leatherface wore these masks almost as a ritual, whereas in the remake they made the decision to give him a disfigurement, and there is one scene where you see him unmasked, so as I understand it, this is the major reason why he wears a mask in the first place. After all, it's not as though it's a clown or a hockey mask, it's, shall we say, a little more homemade. Now, the third head sculpt is where it gets interesting. As you'll see on screen, this is how I first received the head sculpt, and everything about the actual face part of the head sculpt, which I'll go into more detail shortly, is impeccable. Whereas the hair, I quite honestly feel looked a little bit like an afro, and it's not how I would remember Kemper's hair from the film. So as you can see, looking at the revised version, which my incredibly understanding wife, shall we say, was kind enough to style this for me. Now, of course, I can understand that this doesn't exactly bear a great resemblance to Kemper's hair, but I feel it's an adequate improvement, and it's not enough to not make me want to put this head sculpt on the piece. Looking at the actual sculpt of this head when comparing to the source material, one has been able to capture the look and the expression on the face impeccably well. You look at the way the mouth almost slightly tilts down, it's exactly how it looked in that iconic moment when he revealed himself to be wearing Kemper's face. He's been able to capture the slightly enlarged eye holes, which was exactly how it looked in the film. The way the blood drips down the top of the forehead, and also the various orifices of the face, it's impressive as a mixture of this dried and also fresh glossy blood, as it really looks like it has been sliced and cut off Kemper's face and almost placed back on. The only real thing I would feel that with this head sculpt would benefit, in addition to being rehead, would be to make the skin slightly more smoother and add a little bit more gloss. But other than that, the expression is bang on, and you'd be able to tell instantly who that is, which of course is the exact aim of these pieces after all. Now, I'm sure by this point you're thinking, isn't he missing something? After all, this is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And of course, you are correct. We have finally arrived to look at the chainsaw. Now, interestingly enough, when I got my first Leatherface piece from One's Customs, it was the previous version, so shall we say regular, and this one is the DX. And one of the requests I inquired to One about was whether we could replace the standard plastic chainsaw blade with a metal one, and lo and behold, he took that request on board, and I was happy that he had some specially made up. And it's my understanding in that from that point onwards he's used the metal chainsaw blade, which to me visually it probably doesn't make a lot of difference, but it's all these small touches, as I always say, that just add to the authenticity of these pieces. As we look at the body of the chainsaw, I believe this was originally the chainsaw that came with the Sideshow 1/6 piece, but you certainly couldn't tell when you look at the amount of detail that One's put into the paintwork. It almost looks like it's covered in blood. There are various points where the paint's rubbed off, as you can see. The pull cord is there. He's also added extra tape onto the handle, which of course covered with blood from Leatherface's hands. Overall, it looks a heck of a lot better than the standard stock Sideshow piece. Looking closely at the metal chainsaw blade, you can see all the details there. You can see the individual chain links. One has added what I would say a combination of fresh and dried blood, and overall it's been weathered nicely, and you can tell this has been used for a number of years, just like you can with the body of the chainsaw. Overall, as I said, I was really happy. I suggested this to One's Customs and it looks incredible. It really maintains the level of quality that this piece has throughout. From what you've already heard, you can probably tell that I am a huge admirer of this piece. To me, it's the best iteration of the remake Leatherface. There's just no doubt about it. When you consider the quality of the head sculpts, the accuracy in the levels of detail such as stitching, the hair. Of course, this doesn't really apply to the third head sculpt, but I've already addressed that and that can be rectified. Then you look at the outfit. There, as I said, there are just so many layers. The extreme weathering that One has made with this piece. You go down to the accessories such as the chainsaw with the metal blade, the bucket, and even the sledgehammer. For all its shortcomings, as I've already listed, it's still part of this iconic piece. And I know there are a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre fans out there who didn't like the remake at all, but for me it's the brutish, almost far more psychotic nature of this character which really, what I class as, brings that fear factor. He's a terrifying character. In the original, I kind of class him a bit more of a sort of crazy psychotic, but there's only a few moments where he's truly terrifying. Whereas the remake, they really tried to hammer that home, literally. I feel that with this piece, One's Customs has really almost taken the 2D viewing that you see of Leatherface in the film and just enhanced it to that up level. He's really taken this to the extreme, and it's all the better piece for it, and he really should be commended on the level of work and attention that goes into this piece as a whole. Now, in addition to this video, there will be a second one which will be due out in a few days' time, where I show two of the concept head sculpts that One's Customs has produced, and they're certainly a little bit different. Look out for that. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please give it a like if you did, and feel free to comment. Again, I really would enjoy listening to some of your opinions, what you thought of the remake, if you did or you didn't like it, why you preferred the original, so forth. As I have a number of pieces, not just 1/6 scale custom horror figures. I have statues, I have many more videos planned. If you'd like to see perhaps some of those next instead, then just let me know. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please click the card that will be on your screen, as I have a special video planned for 100 subscribers of something very few people will have seen before. Thank you very much for watching this Collectomaniac video. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.